Kimberly of Happy Gals Vintage, Crystal Wand Maker, and Elements 5. I want to thank you for stopping by to check out my video today all about tea and how tea can add more happiness to your life. So let me pour you a cup. I've got some tea brewing right here, right now, and I'd love to have tea with you this morning. And let's get started talking about tea. You might be wondering, what technically is tea anyway? Well, it is a drink that's made by infusing the dried leaves of the tea plant in boiling water. So that's pretty simple. So if you're not a tea drinker, and maybe you've never even paid much attention to tea, you may be wondering why I would think that something as simple as a beverage could actually add more happiness to your life. Well, tea is a little more than just a beverage. It is loved by people all over the world, and it has been for a very long time. And it is connected to many social, spiritual, and even religious practices in different parts of the world. And it's not just about the beverage, which is delicious, and we're going to talk about the different kinds of teas, what makes one tea different from another tea. Now, there are several different types of tea, and if you're not familiar with tea or haven't drank a lot of tea in your life, you might be wondering what are the differences between things like green tea and black tea and herbal tea. Well, green tea and black tea are both made from the leaves of the tea plant, which is a shrub, and the actual scientific name of the plant is Camellia sinensis, and it grows in China, and the leaves are harvested in order to make the tea. The difference happens in the way the two different types of tea are processed after the tea leaves are picked. Both are allowed to oxidize or dry out, and the green tea, however, is stopped in the process. So the drying begins and then it is halted either by steaming the leaves or by pan frying the leaves. And this retains the green color of the tea and keeps the flavor milder than a black tea. In the production of black tea, the leaves are allowed to oxidize completely and dry out until they are a dark black color. There's much more tannin in the black tea, and there ends up being more caffeine in the black tea, and the black tea is just stronger in flavor and more bitter. Both green tea and black tea, however, contain antioxidants. And antioxidants stop free radicals in your body, and free radicals are what damage your cells and can lead to things like cancer or diabetes. So green tea and black tea are both very beneficial to your health. And in Japan, many people drink a lot of green tea, and the life expectancy is higher in Japan than in any other part of the world. And many people believe it's due to the sheer amount of green tea that the Japanese people drink every day. Now, beyond just green tea and black tea, there's also something called herbal tea, which technically is not really tea. Because it's not made from the tea plant, from the leaves of the tea plant. Herbal tea is made with a variety of different edible plant parts. So it could be flowers or leaves or twigs or roots that are combined, and then they are also infused the same way with boiling water, just as the regular tea, the regular green and black teas are. Now there are all different types of herbal teas, and they are my favorite, although I do love green tea quite a bit too. There are many flavors and varieties of herbal teas, and many of them are also traditionally medicinal, so they can help with a lot of different ailments that you might have. Now, I did not grow up in a family that drank a lot of tea. I grew up in a family that drank coffee. My family was not traditionally drinking tea every afternoon or anything like that. However, at some point along the line, probably around the age of 12 or 13, someone gave me some tea somewhere and I really liked it. And so I started asking my parents to have tea on hand at the house. And so they would get tea for me, usually just something simple like a Lipton black tea or something like that. And as I got older and then went to college, I discovered more different types of teas and really got to have an interest in all the different types of herbal teas and the way they can benefit us in our lives. Now, I do want to talk about some of my favorite teas and share them with you. But first, I want to talk about how does one simply make a good cup of tea. And there are a few little rules to making a cup of tea. And we're going to talk about making a cup of tea using a tea bag. Now, there's other methods of making tea. There are loose teas, and that's a whole nother story, and maybe I can talk about that in another video. But right now, for simplicity's sake, we're just going to talk about making tea with a tea bag. And the teas that I'm going to talk about too that are my favorites are also all teas that come in tea bags. Now, you want to start with really good water, and that is just fresh, clean water. At my house, we have a well, and my well has water that is clean, but it's very hard on the pH scale, so it's not really great for making beverages with. It's great for showering and washing clothes and things like that, but I generally use a spring water when making tea. Now, when you make your own cup of tea, once you have your water, you want to boil the water on the stove. Make sure the water does come to a boil, and then let it cool just slightly. And then you're going to put your tea bag in your cup, and you're going to pour the hot water over the tea bag. And then you want to allow the tea to steep, or simply the tea bag to sit in the hot water for at least 3 minutes, but not really more than 5 minutes. And the reason is if you leave it in less than 3 minutes, it won't be strong enough. You won't get enough of the infusion out of the tea bag. But if you leave it in longer than 5 minutes, many teas become too strong or too bitter. And generally speaking, most teas have a subtle flavor. It's a more subtle, refined flavor than, say, something like a coffee. Then once your tea is done brewing, you can remove the tea bag very carefully from your tea. And then you can add sweeteners if you like. Many teas really don't need sweetener, I don't think. They have a great flavor all on their own. But you could add something like a sugar, or I love stevia, which is a natural sweetener made from the stevia plant. You could also use honey. That's a good sweetener for tea. Just a touch of honey. When you add the sugar, you want to add the sugar, I spilled a little bit, you want to add the sugar above the tea, and you don't want to dip your teaspoon down into the tea when you do it, because usually if you're having tea with other people, many people are going to be using the sugar and putting the teaspoon in and out of the sugar. And if you stick it down in the tea, you're going to contaminate the sugar and make a big sticky mess. which is never good. Then you just stir the tea. Oh, some people also like to add creamer to their tea. It seems to be a very English thing to do. I generally don't add creamer to any of my teas, but you can add cream or a little bit of milk, and you can just pour that right into your tea as well and stir that up. And then once your tea is all ready to go, everything, the sweetener's added and the cream if you want it, then you can very carefully sip your tea. And I do mean very carefully because it's going to be very hot. And hot tea, hot steaming tea is a wonderful thing, but burning your tongue is not. And then you can repeat the whole process as you like. Okay, so now let's get into this fun part I've been waiting for. Let's talk about the different teas that are some of my favorite teas. I have them all out right now, and I'm just going to talk about each one briefly and just why I love it. This one is by Yogi, and they make a lot of really good teas. They are organic teas. And this one is a stress relief tea, honey lavender. And lavender is an herb. It's a purple flower. It's one of my favorite plants in the world, and I love the essential oil of lavender. This tea actually has the lavender flowers dried right into it. And the thing about lavender is it really helps calm your nerves and relax you. So this is a really wonderful herbal tea. This is by Choice, which is another organic tea company, and this is organic jasmine. It's a green tea with jasmine flowers added into it, and this is often a traditional Japanese tea. If you go out for Japanese food or also Vietnamese food or Chinese food, they will very often offer a jasmine green, and it has such a fragrant flowery sort of smell to it that it's just wonderful. So you get the green tea, but with the added aroma of jasmine flowers. I'm going to talk about Celestial Seasonings. There's 3 that are some favorites of myself and my family. Celestial Seasonings makes just a whole variety of wonderful teas. This one is actually not one of my favorites, but it's my son's favorite tea, and it is called Sleepy Time. And let's see, it has chamomile, which is another flower, another herb that is very calming to the nerves and soothing, and it also has spearmint, which adds just a little edge of that minty flavor to the tea. And it has lemongrass, which is another very aromatic herb that has a very lemony smell. And when you put those all together, it makes a very relaxing and soothing, but also sort of aromatic tea that is just great for right before you go to bed. Lemon Zinger is a tea also by Celestial Seasonings, another herbal tea. I believe it has hibiscus, lemon, lemongrass. So again, this one is a little more of a lively tea, so it kind of wakes you up and it just makes you feel sort of energetic and fresh, and gets your brains kind of flowing, so it's kind of a good morning tea. Or if it's in the beginning to be into the afternoon and you're feeling like you're dragging a little bit, a little cup of Lemon Zinger will just pick you right up. And then we have just a green tea by Celestial Seasonings, but it's a decaf version. And I like tea a lot, but I don't always need the caffeine. And green tea has less caffeine than black tea, but it still has more caffeine than I generally need. I am a very high energy person, all on my own, without any caffeine. And even, especially in the morning, you know, some people drag in the morning and they can't wake up. Well, I'm not like that. I bounce out of bed and I have all kinds of ideas about what I want to do for the day. And so I generally don't need caffeine. If I do have caffeine in a tea or a coffee, I just am rattling off. I can't stop talking and drive everybody crazy. So you might consider, if you really like the taste of green tea or black tea, that you don't need the caffeine, that Celestial Seasonings makes a really nice green tea that's decaffeinated. Tazo is a company that does some really amazing herbal teas with some really unique flavors. This one is Passion, so it has an herbal mix of hibiscus flowers, orange peel, rose hips, and passion fruit flowers. So it's very, I mean, it smells fantastic, and it's just sort of a rich, flowery, soothing, but romantic tea. My favorite Tazo tea is actually an orange, a wild orange tea. I think it's called Wild Orange Blossom, maybe. I'm out of it right now and I don't have one on hand. And when I was at the local food market, the local co-op, they didn't have it at the time. Otherwise, I would be showing that one to you too. But I do have this one by Tazo, so I thought I would talk about the Passion tea. Now these two are by a company called Organic India, and the many teas and herbal teas are made in China and over in that part of the world, but these teas are actually made in India, and this is called Tulsi tea, and it's actually made from holy basil. So it's not made from the traditional tea plant. It is an herbal tea, specifically made from basil, and this particular tea is very good for reducing inflammation in your body. So it can help with all kinds of problems that stem from inflammation. But it also just has a really nice flavor. It's unique. It's kind of similar to a green tea, but not exactly the same. And it's caffeine free. So I really like the Tulsi tea. So the Organic India also makes a Tulsi tea with the same holy basil, but they add in a turmeric and a ginger, and those are both roots that are also really good for reducing inflammation in your body and just generally increasing your health across the board, and which also will increase your energy level. You'll just feel better. So these two teas are really good for you, and actually all of them are, but these are especially good for you, and especially this one with the turmeric and the ginger. I have 3 different teas that are made by a company called Traditional Medicinals, and these I believe are also organic. Yes, they sure are, which is great, because then you know that the plants that are being used in the teas are not treated with chemicals while they're growing. Sometimes you're trying to drink tea for the benefits to your body, but if you're drinking tea that isn't organic, you may be bringing in outside chemicals and different things into your body that are undoing the very benefit that you're trying to obtain by drinking the tea. So it makes sense to pay a little bit extra, I believe, and get organic when you can. This is a peppermint tea, so it's made from the peppermint plant, and it's a very fresh, lively tea, invigorating, and very good for when you have an upset stomach. So anytime you're feeling like you have an upset stomach or a little bit of acid reflux or something along those lines, heartburn, just sipping on peppermint tea can really help. Now, this is one of my very favorite teas, and it again is by Traditional Medicinals, and it's called Echinacea Plus. And Echinacea is a flower that is very good for your immune system. And many people they're called purple cone flowers. A lot of people will grow them in their gardens and don't even realize that they're a medicinal plant. However, they are very good for increasing your immune system and then fighting off colds and flus and those types of things. And this one also includes elderberry, which is a wild berry that is added into the tea. And elderberry is another plant that is very good for your immune system. So this is sort of a double whammy. Oh, and elderberry just tastes really good. I love the flavor of elderberry. So the combination of the echinacea and the elderberry is like this double whammy to help your immune system. Which, you know, the better you feel, generally, the happier you are. Or at least the easier it is to be happy, right? When you're not distracted by being sick all the time. So, you know, you can also just drink these teas. You don't have to be sick to drink them. You can drink them to keep your immune system built up and strong even when you're not sick. And so then when germs are around you, you're much more likely to be able to fight them off. And the last tea I'm going to talk about here is a chamomile. Again, this is another tea that is offered by the traditional medicinals. And chamomile is a flower. It's an herb. It grows wild in many parts of the United States. It can also be grown in a garden pretty easily. I've grown chamomile many times over the years. And it's fun to watch the big plant. Well, it's a very thin, delicate plant, but it gets tall. And then all these little yellow flowers, white flowers with a yellow center, they look like tiny daisies. You can actually harvest those, and then you infuse them in water to make fresh chamomile tea, and it's really delicious. And it's very soothing tea. It's very relaxing, calming, and it just smells amazing. And this company has actually made it for you, so you don't have to grow your own chamomile. They are nice enough to put it into tea bags for you. So those are some of my favorites. I have others, so I could go on for a long time, but I just wanted to go over briefly some ones that I really, really like. And I can list them in the description below too, in case I went too fast and you are able to catch all that. Now the last thing I would like to talk about today in this video of all about tea is going out for tea. So either on your own or with friends, you can go out and have tea at tea houses. There are all over the country now and all over the world, I'm sure, and they're a lot of fun. And I was going to talk about just two of them that are my favorites. And I live in Vermont, and in Montpelier, which is the capital of Vermont, there is a place called the North Branch Cafe. It's right on State Street. It's right in downtown Montpelier. It's right along the North Branch River in an old building right in the center of town. And they have a selection of really amazing teas. They are loose teas that they infuse for you right there, and they are just delicious. And I just recently went to the North Branch Cafe and had a cup of their white jasmine green tea, and I also had a little mini quiche. They have all different teas, but they also have wines, and then they have foods that you can get. It's not always the same what they have. It differs from day to day, but generally you can get things like quiche or muffins or cookies or little sandwiches. They have a variety of delicious things that you can eat while you drink your tea. And the atmosphere in this cafe is just wonderful. And you can also do things like have bridal showers or little parties there. And when my daughter got married a couple of years back, we did have a bridal shower in the North Branch Cafe, and they catered it, and it was just so much fun. And it's just such a pretty place to have a little party like that. Now another one of my favorite places to have tea is actually all the way across the country in Portland, Oregon. And I recently visited Portland, Oregon because my daughter has moved out to the West Coast and she's living in Portland, Oregon. And so while I was there with my son also, he came with me to visit my daughter and her husband. And while we were there, we took a little walk from our hotel room to check out the Chinese gardens that are in Portland, Oregon. They're in downtown Portland, Oregon. And that garden is amazing. So if you are in Portland and you can check out the Chinese garden, definitely do so. And within the garden, there is a tea house. And what a wonderful place. So you can have traditional Chinese tea in the tea house with all the beautiful flowers right outside the windows and the koi pond and just this amazing atmosphere and really good food. And you can get dumplings and other traditional Chinese foods to go along with the tea that you're drinking. And so that is another spot that I would highly recommend going for tea. But I know there are amazing tea houses all over the country and all over the world. So if you know of a really spectacular tea house in your area or somewhere that you've visited, please do mention it in the comments of this video below so that everyone else can hear about it as well. And trust me, if you go and have tea at one of these tea houses or tea cafes, you will definitely find that it makes you happier. There's just no way you can help it. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you had fun watching this video and learning a little bit about tea, and maybe it inspired you to try tea if you haven't already, or if you've already loved tea for a long time, it'll inspire you to try some different ones, or go out and find a new tea house or tea cafe, or just have some friends over and share a cup of tea, because that is the nicest thing about tea, is that it's very affordable. Even you could just go to the dollar store even and get a box of chamomile tea, and then all you need is some hot water and some cups, and you can share tea with your friends. And there's just something so nice about sharing a nice hot cup of tea and having a chat and having that time to relax and just enjoy each other's company. So I do want to thank you for your company today here watching my video, and I hope to see you again real soon.